What's up people, it's Wasabi and I'm back with another review. And today we have the Scyrox V8. Scyrox. You know, I have no idea, but Scyrox sounds pretty cool. Anyway, this product is not sponsored, and as always with the content on my channel, these are my thoughts, personal opinions, and experiences with the products. Now before we get on with the review, here's a quick look at the packaging because that's what you pay for too. First, the V8 in the white colorway, two shapes of PTFE mouse skates. No skates are pre-installed, so you have the choice. You got a quick start guide, the 8K wireless receiver, a thick USB-C cable, and that's pretty much all that's included inside the box. Now before we go any further, let's manage some expectations here real quick. Scyrox is a new mouse brand and many people say it's by the same people from Lamzu, but I'm not sure. The V8 is the first mouse from Scyrox and it is insanely popular in the budget mouse category because of the tech and the quality that you get and the fact that it's going for a price of $70. The design is okay, nothing too different for a claw grip mouse of this shape. Brand badging on the left corner with an LED indicator. The scroll wheel though has a little something different going on, which I appreciate because quite many new mice share the same scroll wheel pattern and it's just starting to feel a little boring, so this is nice. And on the bottom of the mouse there is nothing going on. The build quality feels pretty good for a mouse of this price. Everything feels well put together. The sides and the entire back of the mouse feel pretty strong for something this light, and there are no holes in the body, which many would appreciate. It's all good except for some mouse button wobble that does become very noticeable when it's held down, and this would be something that would be more obvious when you're tracking in game. Peeking under the mouse button, it looks like there's too much space between the structure where it holds the mouse button in position, and if it is too tight, that could result in squeaking as the plastic rubs against each other, so just a bit of allowance is good, but this one is a little more than what gamers are used to. Other than that, the V8 feels pretty good. The stated weight on the website is 36 plus minus 3 grams, and on my unit without the skates, it weighs in at 39.3 grams. 39 grams is very lightweight, and this can either be a good thing or a bad thing for you. For me, low weight is just something of a different experience when it comes to gaming. I like it when there is some weight to the build because it's a lot easier to flick accurately for me. Emphasis on accurately. You see, low weight isn't something that you can't get used to, but having some weight makes it feel like a more substantial mouse, and for the V8, it just barely feels like it. Now before I get into more detail with the shape and how it feels from my experience, to put things into perspective, my hand size is 17.5 by 9. The shape and size of the V8 is ideal for variations of the claw grip style, and it feels perfectly usable with my hand size. The mouse button grooves are very subtle and you would barely notice it, but on that note, you have a lot of freedom to position your fingers where it feels best for you, no matter how forward or backward you grip. This has a very low front end, which lets you claw the mouse at a lower angle that relieves tension in your wrist. The sides angle ever so slightly inwards from the front to the midpoint of the mouse. It's pretty straightforward, so you don't get much of that locked in feeling compared to mice that have deliberate inward side curves. And what you get instead is a flat out rear end that supports your thumb rather nicely. The hump peaks up further towards the back with a steep angle down to the base of the mouse, and this fills up the lower half of my palm and not so much towards the top. It's an excellent dry coating for the price, and gamers with dry hands will probably find it too slippery, but when your hand does get a little sweaty, that's when the coating really comes to life and gives you a good grip on the mouse. Surprisingly, the mouse doesn't come with a set of grip tapes, so you would have to get your own if you would like more grip. The quality of the stock skates are okay. They are a little rough from the beginning, and after they're broken in, they smoothen out a bit and should be good enough for most people. What I appreciate though is that you get to choose if you want corner or wide skates. There are not too many aftermarket skates available for the V8 just yet, but I'm sure with its popularity, you would see a lot of choices in no time. Now this part is to help people visualize the different grip styles on the V8 with reference to my hand size. The V8 feels perfectly comfortable with a relaxed claw, a regular claw, or an aggressive claw grip style. It feels particularly good with an aggressive claw grip because the top side of the mouse is very flat. For the palm grip, it's not very comfortable for me because again the top is very low. Most of my hand doesn't contact the top of the mouse after the peak of the hump, and if I try to make full contact with the body, it feels like the hump is being forced into my palm, which feels rather uncomfortable. And for a fingertip grip style, the V8 size is not one that I enjoy using for this style because there isn't much room for movement before it bumps into the inside of my hand. So for my hand size, it's not ideal, but for larger hands, it's quite possible. The Scyrox V8 has Omron optical switches. It's got a bit of pre-travel and some post-travel, but really this depends on where you press. If you press closer towards the front of the mouse, it's gonna feel like there's a lot more post-travel due to the flexing of the thin mouse buttons. How they feel in this build is kinda odd to explain, but hear me out. It's like they sound crisp with a slight metal ping to which is one of the characteristics of Omron opticals. Not exactly mushy, but they're not very snappy. And I'm sure that you all know that click feel is very subjective, but the clicks here sort of feel light and relaxed, which might be something that you enjoy, but for me, when it comes to gaming, I'm not such a fan of how this one feels. It would be nice if pressing mouse buttons 1 and 2 felt a bit more solid. And on my crispy meter with the way they sound and feel, I would put them right about here. The side buttons have a rather thin and pointy design. You got clicky tactile side buttons with a bit of pre-travel and a lot of post-travel. They are very clicky, but also they feel sort of cheap and hollow, which for a $70 mouse is acceptable. Quite honestly, I think most people who buy this mouse would be happy enough that it doesn't feel mushy. The feel of scrolling is light but easy to distinguish, doesn't require much force at all, and it's pretty quiet too. The scroll clicks on the other hand need quite a bit of force, and because the scroll wheel is so easy to move, I have found myself accidentally scrolling while trying to press on the wheel. And now here's a quick sound test to give you a better idea of how this mouse sounds. The V8 has a new POR 3950 sensor which goes all the way up to 30,000 dpi, and it's surprising to see this sensor on a $70 mouse. Feels like this mouse doesn't just undercut well-established brands in the industry, but the big Chinese brands as well, which is interesting to see. The sensor is great, it's been tracking perfectly well on my unit. It's also got motion sync, and you can set your lift-off distance to as low as 0.7mm if you want to. This mouse surprisingly uses a web-based software which just works great. What I like about it is that all the settings that you will need are on one page, so you don't have to navigate through multiple tabs, and the page even looks nicely designed for a budget mouse. It doesn't look too serious, it's simple to use, and makes you feel like you got a fun gaming mouse to game with. Battery life, this has a 250 mAh battery, and well, that is all they mentioned about it, which is weird because it's like they didn't bother with testing. For me, I've used this on the 8000Hz pulling rate with a 1600 dpi on a full charge, and from 8 AM till about 4:30 PM, the battery life was down to 30%. And just note that this is from regular computer use without any gaming. Connectivity wise, you can use this both wirelessly and wired. The highest polling rate you can go up to with the included wireless receiver is 8000Hz polling rate, so there is no need to buy anything on top of the mouse itself. You get the full experience right off the box, which for a budget mouse is very nice to see. And if you plan on using this wired, the maximum polling rate is 1000Hz. What I can say about the experience after using this mouse is that it's a good introduction for gamers who want to experience an ultra lightweight mouse with all the latest features that gaming mice have to offer today. It's a good shape for the claw grip style, and it's been performing perfectly well with my time on it. There really isn't much to complain about, which for a mouse of this price is a huge praise, but at the same time there's nothing about the mouse that makes you want to keep using it. So in conclusion, what are 3 things I like about this mouse? First, I like the price. There is nothing not to like about the price of a gaming mouse with this much to it, and I think it's great that it gives gamers access to tech that you would only normally find on higher end mice. The second thing is the presentation, and this has one of the best packaging presentations of any gaming mouse ever. Your experience doesn't start when the mouse touches the pad, and for a $70 mouse, I can imagine lots of people are gonna enjoy unboxing it, especially if it's a gift. Other than that, there really isn't much else that stood out for me. Now, what are 3 things I feel could be improved? I don't have 3 things considering the price of this mouse, so maybe just 2 to improve the experience a little. First is the scroll wheel, and either the encoder could be a little stiffer or the scroll switch could be a little lighter to reduce the chances of accidental inputs. And the second thing is the mouse buttons could do with more structural support in the build, because for games where you have to hold down the button, it doesn't feel so nice when the button shifts while you're tracking a target. Now, final thoughts, and what do I think of its value? For the price, you are getting a lot. However, while I feel that the build quality is good for what you pay for, it doesn't feel the same or better than holding a premium gaming mouse. And this is something you will notice when you hold the mouse in your hand, but well, for the price, I think that's fine. With the tech that it has, it's considered cheap, and nitpicking on its shortcomings makes me feel like an ungrateful snob, if you know what I mean. If you ask me if you should get this mouse, I would say only if you really need a new mouse and you are on a tight budget. I think the budget options are good, but you could also save that portion of money, top it up a little over time, and maybe there will be more options available, and the more expensive ones could be on discount. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful in any way, please leave a like and subscribe to support the channel, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.